Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th episode of the Loose Balls Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ryan Heffernan. To the right is Tristan Maben.
What up?
To the left is Big Biggity Bean.
What up, though?
It's the first Sunday without football, guys. Sadness has struck. But don't worry, we got you covered across the sports world, which includes the USA versus Canada Four Nations game. Have a lot to talk about in that. We got the All-Star game, college basketball, and then the NBA Pretenders or Contenders Eastern Conference Edition. And then here we'll sprinkle in some Genesis Invitational, the Daytona 500. But before we start, I'd like to shout out our YouTube channel. We're finally able to publish to it. Our channel name is called Loose Balls Pod 1. And also our X account where we notify you all when we drop our podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Our X account is the same as the YouTube account, Loose Balls Pod 1. We're also going to start publishing our YouTube shorts now that we got a hang of it. So please share, review, like, subscribe, and also, most importantly, enjoy. Bean, the floor is yours.
All right. Like Kev said, thank you for listening. To the new listeners, thank you. Just going to give out a background on why we started this. It's good to update our audience, especially the new listeners. Basically, we're three lifelong friends. I've known Hef since kindergarten. I've known Maben since 4th grade. And so we just basically wanted to start a podcast. Basically, the premise of it is just the boys shooting the shit, talking about sports. Basically, your
Shooting the shit.
Basically, your everyday conversation with your boys. So we decided, let's make a pod and let's do it. Without further ado, boys, before we get into the nitty-gritty, how was the first weekend without football?
Well, let me give you an idea of how it's going, Bean. I walk in to shoot this pod, and what do we have on the TV? We got women's college basketball on the TV. Now, I got nothing against women's college basketball.
Sounds like you do.
I have nothing against college basketball, women's college basketball. I'm going to stick to it. But that gives you an idea of how dry we are in terms of sports.
Hey, in 10 minutes, we got the Duke men's team playing Virginia.
Now, that's some basketball right there.
What's wrong with women's?
Nothing wrong. It's just not entertaining.
So now that Caitlin Clark's not in there, you're not intrigued.
Correct. Caitlin Clark is box office.
What about Angel Reese?
Why would I want to watch? I can go to a ninth grade girls basketball and watch the same thing. A bunch of missed free throws and layups.
She's a paint merchant.
Fair enough.
Hey, but I'm going to try that McDonald's meal, though.
Was she dropped a McDonald's meal?
I think so, yeah. There's some ads about it.
All right, well, enough of that talk.
No more Angel Reese talk, Ryan.
This is a perfect segue. Not much better basketball was played this weekend in the NBA All-Star Game.
Ugh.
I watched Friday night. I was actually editing our YouTube video, and I watched the Rising Stars game a little bit. I can't say I watched much more of the All-Star weekend. I mean, that was probably the best part. What did you guys think of the All-Star game? And then we'll get into what you would change after what your thoughts were.
Yeah. For example, I think this women's basketball game is more exciting than the All-Star game.
I'd agree.
It depends what kind of paint you're using, but sometimes paint drying is more entertaining. Depends on what paint you use. So. The All-Star game, Adam Silver tried to fix it. I just feel bad. Nothing's working. Mm-hmm. No one wants to perform for Adam Silver. He's trying to make it so people will watch the game. He even incentivized people where they make $500K if they win.
He even asked the players, "What can I do to change it?" And they said a tournament style, and it was still ass.
It did seem like the players were a bit more into it, but there were so many stoppages. I don't know why Kevin Hart was shoved into it. It seemed like he was shoehorned into that whole, the whole game. Like he was on the screen every 5 minutes for some reason. I don't understand why. I think they're on the right direction because it did seem like the players were a bit more into it.
Some of them.
Yeah,
right? Victor Wembanyama was into it.
Yeah, which he was almost too into it.
He said before the game, he was like, "I'm not here to make friends."
kind of lame. That's kind of.
It is kind of lame, but you know
that's
actually,
sort of the mentality you want, though. It's more
tried.
entertaining if guys are into it, but a little too far in the other direction, in my opinion.
He was trying to, it was his first All-Star game, so he was trying to like prove himself.
Yeah.
I do want to say shout out to that guy making that 3-pointer.
That was sick.
Against
oh my
Dame.
God, Mr. Beast, that made me so uncomfortable.
Why?
Mr. Beast just like chiming in and just let them shoot, let the guy shoot. He had to say something like every time he was shooting.
Yeah,
even Dame was like, "Get the hell out of here, Mr. Beast."
I can't say I'm too in the pop culture. Who the hell is Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast.
Please put me hip.
Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber of all time.
Yeah, he's massive.
I
don't know much about him either, Bean, but I know he's huge.
He has like 500 million subscribers. He just dropped a show called Beast Games. I'm sure
I heard about that, but I have no interest in trying to figure out what that.
Yeah,
really means.
his videos are insane. I watch him. It's like he'll bury himself alive for a long time, or he offers people private islands if they complete tasks. It's pretty cool.
Is he entertaining or is he just rich?
I think he's very entertaining. So pretty much he spends all of the money he makes on the YouTube video on his next video. So he just goes all in every single time.
Did he give the guy that made a 3-pointer? Did he give him a private island?
No, he just gave him $100K.
Just 100K.
Just 100K.
Just 100K.
A light 100K for Ryan.
Yeah, he usually gives out like 10K to random people, and then just gives out 100K. But nonetheless, that game was boring as hell. It just pisses me off. I just wish I could see the players perform at the highest level. Do you know how much fun it would be to see all these guys actually play hard? I think it'd be so sick. But I do understand it too. It's like in the middle of the season, people are probably tired, and you want your time off. Like, sure, you want to be an all-star, but do you want to be in the all-star game?
If you don't want to be in the all-star game, then don't play.
Then who? Yeah, but
they incentivize
how many
it now too.
subs do you want to get in?
Yeah, but I would rather have dudes that want to be there and actually want to play. And it's like, all right, if you want to rest, that's fine, but don't like LeBron. Like he just at last minute was like, hey, I'm not gonna play. Like, dude, then why'd you show up?
So what are your thoughts on that? I was gonna ask you guys about that because he did it last second. He's getting a lot of backlash. I mean, anything LeBron does, he's gonna get backlash.
Yeah.
He could scratch his elbow, and people would be like, he scratched the wrong elbow. So, but like about him doing it last second and snubbing Norman Powell or whoever it was going to be, you think that's pretty fucked up or what?
I think it's whack. I think it's whack as hell. And you see him like taking pictures, and he's the only one that's not in the jersey. Like, he's just such a narcissist. Sorry, Pat.
That's a closet Lakers fan too.
Closeted, yes. I would never admit to it. But yeah.
Obviously he tried to give it a go, but back to your point, on why they don't try. It's, most of these guys are obviously very good players, the best of the league. So that means they're on good teams, and being on a good team means they're going to be in the playoffs. So they probably don't want to, risk themselves, for it. But back in the day, when Kobe was playing, when the start of LeBron's career, when KG, the bad boys, not the bad boys, but the Pistons, the working five,
they were all stars.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 were going to work Pistons. 4 of the 5 were in the All-Star game, and the East was getting blown out. They put those 4 in together, and they came back and won. So like back in the day, like 15, 20 years ago, it was, I always looked forward to it in middle of February.
Yeah.
But now it's just like I didn't even watch the 3-point contest, and you saw the bullshit with Wemby and Chris Paul.
That was crazy.
And do you guys believe Wemby when he said that was me? I made that up because I think that has Chris Paul written all over.
That is the most Chris Paul thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just instead of shooting the ball, just chucking it at the court just to save time. What's the point of shooting though? Like, why were they even shooting if it doesn't even matter? I don't understand the point system on that. I don't even understand why the skills challenge is still a thing.
The whole weekend's broken. They have to change it up. The dunk contest, you have a G leaguer win it 3 years in a row. We need Ja to save the dunk. So whatever.
It seems like Ja's on the way.
Please call. Was it Demetrius
Ja Morant?
You have to give him a call.
Put out the bat signal, Ryan.
That's my man. But also, I was just about to say. You said they need to change it, obviously, and I agree. I just watched a video right before this podcast started of Rachel Nichols, Is that her name? Yeah, Rachel
Yep.
Nichols. She was interviewing Kyrie, Giannis, James Harden, and someone else, and they were like, "Would you guys do a one-on?" Oh, Anthony Edwards, and they were, and she was like, "Do you guys want to do a one-on-one tournament instead?" They'd be like, "Fuck yeah, that'd be sick." All of them want to do it, so why don't you do it? Like, obviously, I think that would be the most entertaining thing for me.
Yeah, they have to listen to the players.
1-on-1, maybe like 3-on-3. 1-on-1 would take too long if you're 24
I also
players.
feel like if it's 1-on-1 and like winner gets ball, it's just gonna be 12-0.
And people's reputations are going to get burned
11-0.
just because, like, the media just and
Yeah.
all the fans are just, oh, like LeBron won a championship. Oh,
I
but
do
he got
agree.
murdered in the one-on-one.
I agree with you, Ryan. Like, if that's what the players want to do, then like you have to gear it towards the players. So then at least finding something that they would all be into, and then having some sort of incentive. I don't know if like we'll talk about the NHL and the Four Nations in a second here, but like that has just exploded and worked like perfectly. But I don't know if that same format can translate to the NBA and work seamlessly as it did for the NHL.
So 2 things on that. Where Adam Silver was on a podcast last week, and he already asked the players like how they wanted it to be formatted. So he changed it for them. So I don't see them changing it again. Like if they they want a 1-on-1, he already kind of like tried to please them with this format. So I don't see them going to another format. It's interesting because the first year that Kobe died, they did a whole new format where you played 3 quarters, and then in the 4th quarter, the winning team, whatever the winning team was at, so say if it was 140 to 133, the winning team had to score 24 points.
It's like the target score or whatever.
Yeah, it was the target score. So if you were at 133, you needed to score 33 points because you were down by 7 plus the 24. Or down by 9 plus the 24. So that worked out the first year, and then I think it was there for another year or 2, and they had to change it back to the traditional format, and then the traditional format lasted, I think, 2 years, and now we changed it again. So, I mean, they keep flip-flopping it. I mean, they might do it, but here's the thing. You brought up the Four Nations, Mabin. What I would do is I would do the top 4 last year. They would probably have to add Canada because Canada is always consistent, but they didn't make the Final 4 in the Olympics last year. I would do very similar to the Four Nations at hockey, what hockey's doing, and play on a Friday and then play on a Sunday, the winner of those 2 games. Because Jokic said it was the most, over the weekend, he said it was the most devastating loss he's ever suffered. So like it means something.
Yeah.
Something to those guys. So make it mean something. And I know like it would kind of be hard to, because Serbia only has a couple.
Right. How do you feel the team of just Serbians?
Right. Exactly. But this is coming from Jokic, who has lost in game 82 of the season that eliminated his team. He's lost 2 games, 7 at homes. He lost in the conference final, and and during that series he lost at the buzzer. And he said that loss this summer in the Olympics was the most devastating. So I think you would get, great appeal. But the only thing is that, like hockey, it's not as spread out. Like
That's what I was saying.
The Sweden, U.S., Canada,
That's what I was
and
thinking. Yeah.
Sweden and Finland, all those guys play in the NHL.
Right.
In the NBA, in basketball, you're not getting all like it's mainly U.S. and Canada, and then every other country. France is starting to get more NBA players.
Right.
But like Serbia, they almost beat the U.S. in the Olympics. They have like 2 NBA guys. So I guess that's where it would be hard to do it. But I don't know. They gotta figure out something.
I didn't hate the format of the All-Star game, but I felt like 40 points was
Too low.
way too low. And it's like the team that lost, it's like they played for what, like 12 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And there was way too many stoppages. I don't know. I feel like there's something there, but they gotta tweak it, obviously.
How about them stopping the game for the TNT thing?
It was very weird. Just
Like,
the whole thing was super
Everything
weird.
was wrong.
It's because they were trying to fill time because they had to get in 3 games. They had to get 3 hours, and like you said, it was already quick enough because it was only 40 minutes. And I agree with you on like they should expand the score. But here's my thought process: maybe they thought, oh, 40 points, they'll actually play defense because the score is so low. Instead, if you make about 80, it's just going to be you're not going to have any defense.
Right.
And they still didn't have any defense. So I think it's a lost cause at this point. I really do.
I was thinking about this. I was like, I had one outcome to this game, one thought. I was like, how broke are we? You know, these guys are fighting for $500,000.
That's chump change to them.
That's chump change to them. Imagine us three on a team fighting for $500,000.
Well, it would be like the G League guys or the Rising Star team.
Yeah, but that's true. Like the Rising Star team didn't go that.
That's
high.
probably big money for some of them.
Yeah.
Well, did you see McClung? He's made triple his salary in the 3 dunk contests.
No way.
Yeah, he's made over
No
300.
wonder that kid is jumping over cars.
Yeah, bro. He's made over
He's making a living off of
$300,000,
it, yeah.
and in the G League, he's made just over 100 grand.
Should I
so.
jump over a Kia to get $500,000?
How about
Find a way.
Draymond just and the booth talking shit about?
I need more
All-Star game?
Draymond off the court.
Yeah.
I love him. His any content with him, I'm a fan. He's just a content machine. I'm tired of him harassing and bullying people on the court, though.
Yeah.
And cashing and writing checks that Steph Curry has to cash, saying they're going to win another championship, and he's not going to be. It's going to be because of Steph and Jimmy, not because of Draymond.
You see what Oscar Robertson said?
What do you say?
Oscar Robertson, because Draymond was like, yeah, the league's boring now. Everyone's shooting threes. And Oscar Robertson's like, yeah, it's probably boring for you because you just have to pass it to Steph Curry.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's pretty interesting. Oscar Robertson was defending the league, but I feel like a lot of those older folks wish the league was back to how it was before with less threes. But Oscar Robertson was saying he likes how it is now.
Yeah, because Oscar was before his time.
Yeah.
And he didn't. I don't think he had the 3-point. Maybe later in his career, but he didn't have that. And I feel like he was a triple double machine. And that
whenever you see like obscure stats, someone usually has like a couple games or one game, and then Oscar Robertson has like 10 games of some crazy stat line.
Him and Russell Westbrook now are probably leading on that.
Yeah, like
Russell
triple doubles.
Yeah,
because
Russell Westbrook, when he had that
Type
MVP
shit.
year at OKC, he was winning. He was getting he averaged a triple double too. He was the second person to do it. So I bet you he's up there with all those stats as well.
Probably.
I'm sure Jokic has got to be going up
Yeah,
there too.
it's those three lead because Jokic just passed LeBron on the triple double list, so it's those three lead it, and so I mean that was funny that he poached Draymond like that, but yeah, Draymond's a content machine. He's funny on TNT.
He fits in perfectly.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's from that era, but just a little bit behind his.
He's
time.
our era's Charles Barkley.
Correct.
He's our Charles Barkley.
Who else could you see 10 years from now being the next Charles, Shaq, Kenny? Who would be with Draymond, do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I feel like it would be Draymond.
I want to hear what DeMarcus Cousins has to say.
DeMarcus Cousins?
Yeah,
Wow.
I feel like he'd be another content
I
machine.
think Dylan Brooks.
I was thinking Giannis.
I can barely understand what he's saying.
Yeah, but he's a clown.
He is a clown.
Did you see him in the video of Shea? He's like, Shea, you got that aura.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let me
Draymond and Dylan
just
Brooks.
get one handshake, get a little aura.
Draymond and Dylan Brooks would probably be a fist fight, but that would be hilarious
I'm trying
content.
to think of other dudes that'd be funny.
Because you have to be like you have to talk well and you have to be super knowledgeable, and you also just got to have like that swagger. I can't think of anyone else who would have that right now. Chris Paul maybe.
Chris Paul came to mind.
Yeah, he's good.
Chris Paul and Draymond.
I feel like he wouldn't want to do that though.
So yeah, if you guys are watching on YouTube, give us a comment. Who do you think 10 years from now could fit in with Draymond, Kenny, and Charles? Because I'm trying to think. Draymond and Chris Paul. I don't know anyone else.
Think of anybody else.
Who could fill the shoes?
All right, moving on to the Four Nations. U.S. is about to get it going with Sweden. Just an electric Saturday night. I mean, we were looking for this for almost a decade. The last time they played was in 2016 with NHL players. So they played in Montreal. U.S. got a big 3-1 win. If you have not seen it, there was 3 fights in the first 9 minutes.
9 seconds.
Oh, excuse me, 9 seconds. And the Kachuk brothers, Matthew, and who was the other Kachuk?
Brady.
Yep, Brady.
Bash
Kachuk.
Bros.
The Hanson brothers, some are saying.
The Hanson brothers.
Yep. Matthew Kachuk got in with it with Brandon Hagel. They're in the same division, and they played in the playoffs plenty of times before. And they both started the game, and Kachuk went up to Hagel and said, let's fucking go. And he's like, all right, bet. And they dropped the gloves, and then right after that, they started play again, and Kachuk's brother, Brady, went at it with, I forget who he went at, maybe you remember, but he dropped the gloves.
Oh, Sam Bennett.
Who's
supposed to be Canada's like enforcer, big guy.
Yeah, and he's
knocked him out.
They also play in the same division. And then I was JT Miller soon after that, 6 seconds after Brady's fight, and he went at it with Colton Parayko, who's probably 2 or 3 feet
He's like
taller
6'6".
than Miller, and Miller put on a show.
Yep.
The Kachuk brothers were acting like the Hanson brothers in the box. They were loving what JT Miller was doing. Boys, I was at a bar, and the bar was losing its shit. Take me through your experience of those fights and kind of how it rejuvenated, this is supposedly the All-Star break, but this is a great idea for the NHL, and how cool was that experience?
It was incredible to watch. You could not ask for a better start with, the fights. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and even the anthems beforehand, like they were booing the national anthem, but like the Canadian anthem was awesome. Everybody in the arena was singing along with it. It was an incredible atmosphere. A couple things, 2 big winners. Obviously, one, the U.S. They're starting to take over the hockey, the sport, legitimately. You look at the team that Canada has. That's no joke of a team, but at probably top end, they have the better players with McDavid and McKinnon. Crosby's still, doing his thing at 37, but as a roster as a whole, USA Hockey is exploding, and they showed it. They really dominated the whole game, start to finish, and our captain Dylan Larkin got the game-winning goal, pretty sweet. So the USA Hockey's a big winner after that game. And number 2, the NHL. They figured out All-Star Weekend and hit an absolute home run. And you got guys like Hef. You watch hockey often?
I was watching the game.
Right, you were watching this, but you're not that much of a. You wouldn't say you're a hockey.
He didn't even know this tournament existed.
Yeah, but he tuned in though.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You got people like Ryan who aren't necessarily a big hockey fan,
right?
But he's tuning into these games and watching it and loving it.
And he's winning parlays left and right.
Not a big deal.
I'm on a heater, boys. I'm on a heater. If you guys want to tell, come right ahead. Of course, I get on a heater and don't share the bets on here. But yeah, as you guys said, I didn't even know what the Four Nations was. I'm not going to lie. I usually watch the Red Wings games when they're on, when the Pistons aren't playing. But I just really wish the NBA could do something that the NHL is doing. But like being said, I don't know how it would work in the NBA. But yeah, it was an electric game. 9 seconds into the freaking game. 3 fights, dude.
It's tough being when let's say the NBA tries to translate sort of what the NHL did to their game for the All-Star Weekend. It's tough because what the NHL did, they have enough players from each country to field like these teams, and even like they still had another like Russia could have played. They had enough players to field the team, and they only use NHL players. So if the NBA were to do that, they would have to do like a U.S. versus the world type thing.
Right.
And it's not really the same thing when you're just playing for the world. You're not playing for your country.
Exactly.
Right.
The world means significantly less to them than it would for the Americans.
Like wearing your country's
It would be the
flag.
same thing. They wouldn't be trying.
Yeah.
It would be the
So
same exact thing.
I don't know. I think, like you said, being maybe a lost cause for the NBA.
Yeah.
Just let them go to Cabo for the weekend.
But speaking about the game was awesome to watch. It was really fun. I was watching that and the Michigan State Illinois game.
Yep.
But yeah, I won about $450 in about a matter of 2 hours. But the biggest thing I noticed was the defense of the United States was really good.
They're incredible.
Every single time they got
the best goaltender in the world at the moment, and Connor Hellebuck as well. 3 shutdown lines defensively for the U.S. And you got to think about who they're playing the best offensive lineup probably the world that can offer. You know, you got to deal with McKinnon and Crosby on one line, and then second line you got McDavid. That's asking a lot, and really shut them down. McDavid had the early goal, which was nasty.
Even their power play
goal.
too, though.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the first game they had. You're talking about Canadian.
I'm talking about when the Canadians were on the power play.
Yeah.
The United States shut them down.
Yeah, and that's if you watch the first Canada game, the Canadian power play, they scored in like 30 seconds. It was I mean, beautiful hockey, and the U.S. shut them down really, other than the McDavid goal. And then right after that happened, Charlie McAvoy brought the body, who's not playing tonight, but he brought the body to McDavid right away and just shut that shit down, didn't let it happen again. So it's incredible to watch USA hockey. Not only they have all the skill, but playing with physicality that you need as well.
Yeah, they laid the wood on McDavid. That was an awesome hit.
Mm-hmm.
And 26 seconds later,
Pause.
he laid that giant wood. About 26 seconds later, Team USA scored, and then on Larkin's goal, which shout out our boy, our captain.
Beautiful goal.
That was also defense to offense. So their defense was fantastic. Both their goals came on off defensive transitions, and then obviously they got the empty netter at the end. So it was fun to watch. Yeah, if you brought up the MSU game, we had like I said, I was at a bar and USA game was on and MSU game was on. So just going back and forth. But yeah, it was just awesome atmosphere. I'm sure. I mean, I would have loved to be there. I'm sure that would have been a top sports moment. USA already scored 30 seconds in.
Eichel.
So they're 35 seconds in. So
wasn't Eichel going to be a Red Wing?
Oh no, it's Kreider. Kreider's first game.
Wasn't Eichel supposed to be a Red
He was
Wing?
Traded from Buffalo, who was the team that
I don't think
he was never a guy that was potentially going to go to the Red Wings.
No.
So maybe it was Heeks. I feel like Heeks was mentioning Eichel going to the. I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Yeah, I think.
But it was Chris Kreider who's in for Matthew Tkachuk. Who, by the way, they're brothers, but they look completely different. Matthew Tkachuk looks like he could be a model, and Brady Tkachuk looks like a Mongoloid.
A Mongoloid?
Yeah.
But just an absolute wagon maven, this team.
I mean, just incredible hockey. It's like you said, being waiting 9-10 years for this, hockey at the highest level. It's you can't ask for anything better. And Sweden and Finland, nothing to sniff at all. Finland's out here still competing with like 3 or 4 injuries on their blue line, and Sweden's always going to be a wagon. Victor Hedman leading the way. Raymond on that team as well. He's having a good little tourney here. So
no, yeah, Finland. This is the first tournament where they always outperform.
Mm-hmm.
They're always in the bronze medal match in the Olympics,
mm-hmm.
and I mean obviously there's only 4 teams in this tournament, but they beat Sweden in overtime.
Yep.
And then they were down 4-0 today against Canada.
2-0.
Almost. And then and they scored 3 goals in a row at the end. And
Scrappy
eventually lost.
Bunch, those Finns.
Yeah, eventually lost 5-3 in an empty netter. But no, they're a solid team. So yeah, I mean NHL did it right. They're playing the championship games on Thursday, and then these guys are playing back in the NHL on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean it's a quick turnaround, but NHL so far has figured it out. So shout out Gary Bettman, who I'm not a big fan of, but
he did something right though.
He did something right, absolutely.
They gotta get Russia. They gotta get Russia going.
Yeah, I agree, but obviously the whole politics thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree.
But hopefully they can get Russia, and Ovi can get his hands on one of these here 4 nations before he hangs them up.
I will say this: in the broad scheme of things, this is going to be great for hockey.
Yeah, I agree.
This is going to be absolutely great for
100%.
hockey. I think it's with the combination of the NBA on its decline, whether it's due to all these streaming services or not, and the NHL having this Four Nations thing, for me, for example, I watch hockey here and there. It's not like something I'm always going to be watching. But after that Four Nations game, I wouldn't be lying to you if I'm saying I'm not excited for the All-Star break to end so I could watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the USA-Canada game that's going to come up in the finals. I'm going to be watching that too.
It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, half to your point, the ratings came out, I believe, yesterday. So they peaked at 5.5 million. It's sat at 4.4 million. So and I think that was like a record in the last 5 years. Ooh, Larkin hit the post maybe, and that's what that was. But yeah, 4.4. I think that's the highest in 5 years. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, they're growing the game. This is how you do it the right way. I mean, just think about all those kids that were watching this tournament and on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or on Saturday, excuse me. I think it was a fantastic idea, and I think it's only going to help, like Kev said, the rest of the year. I mean, it's going to make everyone excited to watch.
Yep.
I think it's going to boost the popularity of hockey in general, and it's going to make it. I think there's going to be a lot more viewership when it comes to hockey.
Hopefully, it's a great sport.
I think
More people should tune in.
I think so.
Yeah, but like I said, I was watching that and the MSU game, transitioning to college hoops. Coach Tom Izzo, Michigan State's head coach for our whole lifetime, which is incredible to think about, became the all-time winningest coach in Big Ten history. He got his 354th win on Saturday, surpassing Bob Knight, who had 353 Big Ten wins. It took a little bit longer probably than he would have expected. MSU lost 3 or 4 heading into that game and had a bad loss to, ironically, Bob Knight's team when he coached in Indiana. They blew a 14-point lead at home. But they were down by 14 in Illinois, and they came back and ended up winning by 14 in Illinois. And I believe they did the Terrence Shannon Jr. tribute at halftime. When you saw that, you should have put everything on MSU because Illinois did not have a chance after that shit show.
I already had a lot on MSU. I bet on them money line with Auburn money line, and then I did both of those separate as well. That's how confident I was in those. MSU being underdogs by 6.5 was just ridiculous.
Didn't make any sense.
I didn't understand
I couldn't believe it. It made me feel like it was going to be a trap bet, but no, sir. Michigan State at the end of that game just took over. Tom Izzo, hell of a coach. Congratulations to him. So does that mean he's the best coach in college basketball right now, would you say?
Dan Hurley coming off back-to-back. He's still number one. But Izzo, for some reason, for someone who's been so great for so long, I still feel like he doesn't get enough credit.
No, he doesn't.
He is an incredible coach, and he's been doing it year in and year out with different guys, not having the best recruiting classes like, Calipari did for a few years there at Kentucky. Never the best talent, but always great at bringing guys in and getting the most out of them. He's an incredible coach.
Right, and, think about, Jay Wright and Virginia's coach, Tony Bennett. They retired because of, the NIL era, the new era of college basketball. And Izzo, who was older than both of them, is adapting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. I still think like he's going to be here for a while, at least 5 to 10 years. So I mean, it's kudos to him, and he's got his deepest team since the COVID year before COVID shut everything down. They were going to be a 1 or 2 seed.
This is a classic, at least an Elite 8 MSU team.
Yeah,
really?
I think so.
Yeah. You think?
They're just the deepest they've been in probably since they beat since they last went to the Final Four in 2019.
Probably since Cassius.
Yeah, right, when they beat Duke, that Zion team with RJ Barrett. So, yeah.
They're legit, man. I think, too, you look at all, like, college basketball and basketball in general today, you got teams shooting a bunch of threes. MSU does it a different way. They do it more at a slow pace.
Yep.
They don't shoot a ton of threes. They look for the best shot. They got great guards who can get to the 10. They got a big time team, and they got those classic Michigan State big men who, They're all big white hicks who sort of always doing the scrappy things and getting those scrappy rebounds and doing the little things you need to win.
Yeah, I'm happy MSU won because I feel like it's going to set up for a storybook ending for the Big Ten title. Michigan State, potentially.
Michigan, they looked good. Who'd they play this weekend?
They played.
Oh, they played Ohio
State.
Ohio
Yeah.
State.
So
babied Ohio again.
I guess nothing's new over there.
Nothing new, exactly.
But my question was this: me and Bean are obviously Michigan fans.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and Michigan State play Friday at Michigan. Who are you cheering for?
I don't really have like a stake on either side. I'm just a fan of all Michigan schools. I want to see all Michigan schools succeed.
Yeah.
For that game, Michigan State.
Whoever you bet on.
I'm not betting at the moment right now, though.
You just said you bet on Cade All-Star.
I did, but that's separate. That's separate from everything. Where's it at?
It's in Ann Arbor.
It's in Ann Arbor.
All right, then I'll be a Michigan fan then. I'll root
Yes.
for the home team.
Yeah, so like Huff said, they play twice. They play this Friday. MSU plays tomorrow night against Purdue, who Michigan just beat last week.
That's gonna be a great game.
So that's gonna be also a big game to kind of.
Purdue just lost too, right?
Yeah,
to Wisconsin.
Purdue lost 2 games, and so Purdue, that'll be their 5th loss. If Michigan State loses, it'll be Michigan State's 4th loss in the conference, and Michigan is currently in first by itself at 12-2. So big week for MSU. Obviously, Michigan has some time off until a big game on Friday, and then MSU and Michigan end the regular season at the Breslin in East Lansing, which could be for at least a share of the Big Ten title.
Bean, I have a question.
Yeah.
I just thought about this. I could have asked this a little bit earlier, but I guess we're still on the same topic. I noticed I was going through Michigan's schedule, and we play Michigan State twice.
Yep.
Purdue twice, whoever twice.
Yeah, Rutgers.
Why don't we
twice.
play Ohio State twice?
That's
How is that? It's the biggest rivalry in all of sports.
so.
Maybe
I
not. Maybe not.
It's not a big rivalry.
Okay, maybe not.
in
Maybe not in basketball, but it's still a big rivalry.
So-
You can't
Sure.
deny it. Why are they not playing twice every single year?
So it's different in like football. You get like you play Michigan State and Ohio State. They have 2 rivals locked up. I think in college hoops, it's only one because you only have 20 games and you can only play 3 teams twice. So I think they all play MSU twice every year, and then it just leads to, whoever on a random year.
I feel like Ohio State should be one of those automatic bids to play them twice.
I don't know the exact rule, but I couldn't tell you. I don't think you like on any given year you can play anyone.
It is definitely different in college hoops compared to football because football I think it's everybody knows that Michigan Ohio State are the biggest rivals, but you tell me, Bean, I would argue that
Michigan State is their biggest rival.
Yeah, for college hoops it'd be Michigan State. That's the biggest rivalry.
Obviously, Ohio State and Michigan still hate each other. Like obviously Michigan Twitter was still trolling Ohio State, but I think. If you had to beat one team, it's definitely MSU. It's definitely Michigan State for basketball.
I'm getting.
But no,
really
that's a good
excited.
question. I don't think because again you're only playing 20 Big Ten games, and so that means you can only play 3 other teams twice. So I think it's just a schedule problem. That's why.
Yeah, I'm getting really excited about college hoops now. Now that I'm really into it, the NFL season's over.
Who are some of the contenders you think this year? Who are your teams going into the we're close to March here?
So I was watching that Auburn Alabama game, and it's pretty easy to say Auburn because they're the number 1 team.
Yeah, they're legit though.
They just look like they have the perfect team with Biggs and Broom.
Jedi Broom.
And who's that guy who got that flagrant? Baker or something?
Yeah, Baker Mazzara.
Baker Mazzara.
Chad Baker Mazzara.
He was he looks great.
He's 25.
He's 25 years old?
Yeah.
Really?
So what year is he in, technically?
Probably his 6th year, maybe 7th year.
That needs to stop.
It's the last year of
It
COVID.
will soon.
But I was watching, and I was like, that was like the first time since Feast Week I watched Auburn. I mean, he's coming off the bench. He's their 2nd best player.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
They got that little guard, Pettifer. He comes off the bench. He's a big-time player.
I mean, anyone they put in.
They're as deep as anyone.
Deep.
I would say they're deeper than Duke. Duke's a deep team as well, but it just seems like Auburn comes in waves.
So that Alabama-Auburn
No
game.
Diddy.
That Alabama-Auburn game was really fun to watch. I had some notes on it. Janai Broom is insane.
He's the best player in the country.
He scored 8 out of the first 11 points. That game was a game of 7-0 runs. I tweeted that. Mm-hmm. One team, Auburn would go on a run, and the next thing you know, Alabama would go on a run, tie it up, and then the crowd gets into it, and you think, oh, Alabama's going to win this. But Auburn kept coming back.
Yep.
So they were up 14 points at some point. And if they just stayed the course and won that game, I would have been less impressed than what they did to win that game. Alabama kept coming in, and the pressure kept getting higher and higher, and Auburn kept delivering every single time. It didn't matter. So I think that shows a good testament to what a team can do in March.
Yeah,
I think Auburn's a clear Final Four team from what I've seen so far.
I would agree. Just looking at it on the other side for Bama, I like Bama too. They have a lot of guys who or a good amount of guys who came back from the Final Four team last year, and I like the big white guy. I think Grant. But the problem with them is exactly why I like Michigan State so much. They're so reliant on the 3-ball, and the Alabama offense is, shoot as many threes as you possibly can, and then shoot some more. And I just don't think that's sustainable, especially when it comes, late in March. And they had a nice run last year, but I would put more faith in a team like Michigan State that's more structured instead of a team like Bama who's so reliant on the 3-ball.
I noticed that in the Illinois game as well. MSU and Illinois obviously played that same day, I believe, or maybe later on in that day. Illinois was just chucking up threes.
Yeah, it's a lot of that.
They were shooting a lot of bad shots. They weren't even trying to get good looks, or they just weren't running good plays. But Alabama, they scored over 107 times this year, and they held them to 85 or something. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when they're on, when their shooting is on, it's tough to beat them. But then when it's off, you live and die by the 3. That's what it is, really.
Yeah. So going back to Illinois, they're a classic live or die by the 3 team, and that's why they lost 9 games this year. It's because they relied too much on it. Bama, I mean, they have better shooters, and they were down by 9 points at half, and they only made 2 threes. So that played a large role, and then they were able to come back and tie it. They were down 14, and were able to tie the game, and then Auburn obviously closed it out from there. But the SEC is very deep. They have 3 or 4 teams in the top 5, like 4 or 5 in the top 10.
I think 3 national championship contenders.
What, those 2 in Florida?
Florida. I'm big on Florida.
What about A&M? I haven't watched too much.
No, I'm not big on A&M. I think Tennessee can beat a few teams, but I don't see them as a Final Four team. Even Bama, I feel like Bama has a ceiling. I feel like I like Kentucky a lot too, so I would put Kentucky in that contender tier.
It's tough too for Bama because they went to the Final Four last year, and it's tough to repeat that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't think they're obviously UConn won twice as won the last 2. I don't think they're on UConn's level.
No.
But no, I think. Right now, because it's in March, because you never know how the bracket's going to turn out. But I think Auburn is a clear lock. I think they're the only lock right now to make a Final Four. Like I said, they have the best player in the country. He's going to win the Naismith and Broom. Sometimes you get teams that aren't as deep, but they have 10 guys that can all hoop.
Yeah,
so they're very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think could be contenders in the Big Ten? Like actual
State
teams that can win it all.
I think State can.
MSU, Purdue,
Michigan,
and Michigan. I think Michigan can make a second weekend. I don't know about going.
Yeah, I think
further.
their ceiling's like Sweet 16.
So what I've noticed from
Maybe
Michigan is they play the same game every single game.
Yep.
It's
What do you mean?
It's the same game every single time. Like I'm watching. I feel like it's just deja vu. I feel like I'm dreaming sometimes. Just like they're up, and then the team comes back late in the game. And then Michigan somehow wins last second.
Yeah. Michigan's last. They're on a 6-game winning streak. I think maybe not all 6. I'll have to look right now. But most of them are all within 4-point wins.
Yeah.
So the only one that wasn't like that was the Purdue game last week, of which they were down by 9 points.
And they tried to choke that game too.
And they were up by 5, they were up by 6, I believe, with 30 seconds left, and Purdue had a chance to win at the end. So they're a very good team, but sometimes they turn it over too much. But at the beginning of the year, they were losing to, they lost to Wake Forest, they lost to Arkansas, they lost to Oklahoma, and within the Oklahoma, all those games, they were up double digits, and they lost, and it was because of turnovers. In the last minute, they had a turnover, at least one in every one of those games in the last minute. But now they're starting to reverse that and win those tight games. So they're finding a way to win, but that's you're living dangerously if you're up and you're letting teams back in, because once you let a team back in, especially in March, you're living on thin ice.
Yep, could cost you your season, and it's tough for a first-year coach too. I think that's a big part of it.
They were 8-24 a year ago, and now they're in solo.
It's already a successful season, whether they go far or not. I'm sure they want to get as far as they can in March, but it's already a successful season for them. Yeah, it's going.
You think they want to go far?
Going out on a limb there. I think Purdue too. One of you guys mentioned Purdue. I think Purdue is a potential Final Four team. I can't see them winning it all, but I think Braden Smith is. Yep. He's one of the best point guards that we've seen in a long time.
Kaufman-Renn, their center's legit, who fouled out against Michigan. But
I haven't watched enough Wisconsin to really.
So here's my thing on Wisconsin. They are February merchants. They are the dog days of February. They're great every year, and then they come to March and they fold every year.
City.
Part of their problem is too many white guys. Maybe they're too white.
Recipe for disaster.
Yes,
and Big Cat's a fan of the team too.
Right, exactly. But he said it. They're never going to win. So it's especially their formula. I do like their coach and Greg Gard, but they do this every year. They're very good in February, and then they're the highest rated team. The polls came out today. It's those 4 in a row: Wisconsin 11, Michigan at 12, Purdue at 13, MSU at 14. So I like the latter 3 teams. Illinois, we're gonna know what Illinois by Saturday, because they play Duke. It's weird. They have a game at Madison Square Garden.
That is a big game. Yeah.
I think they started that last year, and now it's Duke and Illinois this year. We're gonna know if Illinois can compete for a second weekend or if they're just gonna lose in the first round.
Yeah,
because they're on that territory where they're gonna be an 8 or 9 seed. And they're going to be playing a potential 1 seed in Duke. So it's how Illinois does this weekend is going to be based on how I think how far they go.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, they have a very good point guard. It's hard. I don't know.
They got that foreign kid.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name, but he's very good. And they have another freshman that's really good. But again, they live or die on the 3, and when they are off, they are off. So I think, other than those 5 teams, you might get a surprise team, but we're forgetting Maryland.
Maryland, they won, didn't they, against Iowa?
Yeah, they're very good, but the thing with them is they have no depth. They play 5 guys, and that's about it. And those 5 guys, they can all score, they can all defend, but if you get one injury here or there,
or foul trouble, just one game,
they're fucked. So
sounds like the Warriors.
Come out and play. What about you? Who do you got competing in the Big Ten?
Big Ten, I'm going to be a little biased. I think Michigan. I've watched the most Michigan, so I know what their team is like.
Right.
They've played a lot of crunch time games, so I think the more and more you play in those games, the higher of a chance you have to win those games. And I just remember, we have I'm not going to say we. They have Dusty May. Remember what he did at Florida Atlantic?
What did he do?
He brought them to the Final Four.
Shit.
And then the next year, I think he brought them to the Sweet 16, maybe?
Second weekend, for
Second weekend, I think. And then they lost a close game.
Golden just sort of pisses me off.
And you have more talent. Danny Wolf reminds me.
He's awesome.
Danny Wolf reminds me. He's nowhere near Luka Doncic. I'm not saying he's skill wise. He's like Luka Doncic, but he plays the same way. Like he's like
some reminds me of him.
He plays like
Bird. He's moving in slow motion, and he just uses his body.
Yeah. Bird and Dirk. I heard dirt
Ooh, I like
comparison
that.
yesterday.
I like that, Bean.
He's 7-footer that can shoot.
He
dribble.
sort of looks like Larry Bird.
Yeah, so he's very good.
Something about him, I can't put my finger on it.
And then obviously, your Dayton Flyers too, Maven. They're playing a little bit better. I think they won.
They got to win. I didn't watch. You watched more of that game than I did.
I watched like the last minute. They tried to choke that game too, but
yeah, they're chokers.
they pulled it out.
They can't hurt me anymore.
And then so obviously I'm a slappy for Dayton and the A10 and then Big East Tubes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the last week after the Super Bowl, all I can think about is March Madness. It's the
give me the March, baby.
Greatest,
Nothing like it.
Greatest time of the year for sure.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'll get more predictions for myself personally as the season goes on and the conference championships surpass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's.
I need to watch more ball. I was just watching too much football.
Yeah,
there's some great games this weekend.
Yeah, it's a time of year to tune in.
I'll be watching every day now. I'll be watching every single day.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah, speaking of tuning in, I tuned into the Genesis. It was a great tournament this weekend. I think you mentioned him last week, but Ludvig Aberg won his first. I don't know if it was his first PGA Tour event.
First PGA Tour event. I think.
That's your guy, isn't he? Big fan, right?
He might have to replace Rory one of these days.
I think he has one of the pretty. I think he has the prettiest swing in golf, and he's a good looking guy too. Nice. He's a good looking guy. Nice smile. Puts on a nice polo.
Yeah, but he is a sexy man and he's sexy swing.
Whoa, what are we talking about, guys?
Whoa. Well, let's get back to the
stick
game.
To sports, eh?
I'll just say his swing is sex. All right, especially his iron play.
Yeah, it's hard not to grab your dick when you watch this.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
But
no, check this swing out then.
Not right now.
Yes, Ludvig Aberg won his first PGA Tour event and his first key event at the Genesis. He beat Maverick McNeely by one stroke. Aberg birdied the par 5 18th to win it, and McNeely, who was 9 under through 13 holes, had a late surge. But eventually bogeyed, and that opened the door for Aberg. And
bogeyed 14.
Oh yeah, 14. Yeah, he was at 9 through 13 or 9 through 12, which is insane.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think this kid is here to stay. What did you get from this weekend?
First thought I had was if he didn't get that hole in one, he wouldn't have won.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Isn't that nuts to think about? He got a hole in one on the first day, I believe. And you don't realize how far those hole-in-ones come until you're actually in the end of the tournament and see where everyone finished. Hole-in-ones are obviously very, 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 very rare.
Really?
They're very rare.
Whoa.
I got one last summer, by the way, if you guys were wondering. Edgewood Hole 10. Look it up. But yeah, Ludvig Aberg, 4 under on the back 9, finished 6 under until his last bogey. He's going to be a menace. I said this last year, and I think you said the same thing. I think he's going to be one of the best golfers of all time.
Whoa!
I definitely not say all the time.
Better than Rory.
I think I upped that a little bit. But yeah, I think he is going to be one of the best golfers ever. He's 25 years old, and he's competing in almost every single tournament he's in.
Yep.
Every single tournament he's within striking distance. And you said the same thing about Xander Schauffele, where he couldn't win that major. He was in every single major, and then next thing you know, he wins 2 out of 4 last year. I think he's gonna come on a lot faster, and I think
faster.
I think he's gonna come a little quicker, and I think he's gonna be one of the better one of the best golfers of all time. That was a little stretch.
Is he gonna be better than Rory at the end of the day when they hang it up?
He's definitely going to replace Rory as his favorite golfer.
I feel like that's already happened.
Yes, clearly.
He just kicked Rory to the curb.
Yeah, just another European. I'm switching
yeah, right. You European whore.
I don't know. I just love their play style. I have
a couple questions. I saw Tony Finau in that top 5. Is he just the most? Is he just destined for top 5 finishes and never winning the whole thing?
Well, he's won some PGA events, but
it took him a while to win, though.
Who?
Finau.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did. It took him no, he won one, and then he didn't win one after that for 5 or 6 years, right?
Yeah, but it was insane. He was always in it every single time, just like
I feel Xander, that's the name of his game. He's always of in it, but never winning it.
He has one of the most under the radar careers in golf right now. He's always in tournaments, so he's making a shit ton of money.
Right.
But he's never winning them to be talked about as one of those winners.
He can't win the big one. He's never won a major, and I don't want to say his time is winding down in a major, but I mean he's not getting any closer to his peak. That's for sure.
Well, Tony Finau is 35.
Yeah,
so he's got a lot of golf in front of him too.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably got a 5-year window to win a major.
What age as
he
a
gets
golfer
to 40, he
are
ain't
you
gonna
hitting
win
your
one.
peak? And how long does your peak last as a golfer?
Your peak, you're probably late 20s, early 30s, and it can go till your 40s. Like Tiger won his last one at what, like 45?
Yeah, and Phil Mickelson won. He was the oldest player to win.
And he won in 50, right?
He won the British or PGA.
PGA.
Yeah, he won the PGA. Really old. It just, I seriously, I don't think it matters that much how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you hit it a little less far, but if you have that same precision and same accuracy and same putting stroke and same pitching, there's a lot more to golf than athleticism. It's mostly like tactical, if that's the correct word, or
and
angles and stuff. It's just
and how your style fits that course
too. Yeah, and style and format and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple things on Aberg. It was impressive last year. He was finished in the top 5. He actually might have finished second. Obviously, Scheffler ran away with it at Augusta last year. But just like, I don't know if you knew this, maybe, but it's like you need experience on Augusta for you. Like you need to play it at least like 4 or 5 times and have that be in it a couple of times before you actually
have
win
that
it.
lay of the land.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the playoffs in any other sport. You need that experience and then you win. The only one that in recent memory that's only won like right away was Bubba Watson, and Bubba is from Georgia.
By the way, Scheffler finished first at -4, Aberg -3, and the next was home at +1. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I fucked it up. I'm sorry. I was looking at their round 4.
Yeah.
Scheffler was -11, Aberg -7.
Yeah. And so, but he was a rookie last year. I think that was his first major ever, not just Augusta.
The Masters was
his first, and he came in second.
Finished second.
And I'm gonna do a quick shout out our boy Chris Roberts. Thank you for tuning in. Robert, I should say, said last night he's like, Oberg's gonna win a major this year, and I go 100%. I think he might even win the first one this year, which is Augusta. So I mean, I think he's got a high ceiling. Yeah, I don't know about the best golfer ever, Hef.
No. That was a little stretch. I didn't say best golfer ever. I said one of them. And I think he's going to win a lot.
No, yeah, I think he's going to win a lot. He'll win at least, I think, a couple majors. And
you also remember him in the
watch it, and he's a very promising golfer.
Do you also remember him in the 2023 Ryder Cup? He had one of the biggest blowout wins for the Europeans. Aberg and Hovland versus Scheffler and Koepka.
Yeah.
Aberg and Hovland won 9 and 7 in the second foursomes. It was the biggest margin of victory in Ryder Cup history.
And that was probably the best duel that the U.S. could have tried it out, too.
Oberg was 23. Hovland's young as well. It's just crazy.
How old was Tiger when he won his when he started winning?
He won his first one in, what was it, 98, I think?
He was 96. He was really young.
He was
21 years old.
Yeah.
When he won his first major golf tournament. He was so dominant that you couldn't even bet on him. Because, and think about that, there's like 100 golfers in a tournament.
Yeah.
So like anyone could win, but you couldn't really bet on. This was more so at like my dad's the country club he was at the time. They would do like these stockpiles of golfers, and you have to bet on who wins. You couldn't bet on Tiger because he's been so good. And here's a stat that's the craziest fucking thing ever. So Scottie Scheffler had one of the best seasons ever last year. Well, he only won one major, but like tournament winning wise,
he won what, 7?
Yeah, he won a shit ton of majors. He was the world number 1 for almost the entire year. And this is the stat: how long do you think he has to be world number 1 to catch Tiger's world number 1 ranking for like longest to ever be number 1?
It's like 10 years straight, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 2035.
Whoa.
So
10 more years.
Tiger Woods was the number 1 golfer in the world. He never went to number 2 at all. He was number 1 golfer in the world for 11 years in a row, which is unheard of.
Incredible.
Usually people switch every week.
Right.
And what Scheffler did was insane. It was only 1/12 of what Tiger did, which is unreal how good he was. Yeah.
Pretty good at golf then.
Yeah.
Genesis is great. We're getting closer to the Masters.
Yep,
We're getting those Masters commercials. I'm getting hornier and hornier. It's great.
That's awesome.
I one thing before we wrap up golf, but every time I see a Masters commercial, I text Hef in the group chat and I say, "Have fun." What a commercial in all caps.
Yeah.
It gets me every time. And every time I see a commercial, I text Hef immediately. So I'm excited. And then this is about the time where I tune off of golf just because we got college hoops coming up, March Madness. But there's one more not major event, but big golf tournament, the Players, we have in March. And so, and then it'll lead into Augusta. So
TPC Sawgrass, baby.
Yes, sir. All right. One more thing that always catches my attention because I love the sport. I know you guys don't watch it as much, but you watch the ending half because I sent you a video.
Yeah.
But yesterday was the Daytona 500, and my boy William Byron won back-to-back. He was in 9th place.
Yeah,
I didn't know you had a boy in NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He's
yeah.
tuned in on everything.
Yeah.
Who's your cricket team?
I don't have a cricket team. Gave up on cricket a long time ago. But anyways, William Byron, he was in 9th place. Going into the last lap, there was a big wreck in front of him, and he was able to win his second in a row, very similar how he won last year. It was also in overtime. The reason why it went into overtime this year is because there was a big wreck. Ryan Preece, who flipped over 10 times 2 years ago, did another car flip yesterday at Daytona. So a second time he's car flipped there. And I sent half the video, and he's like, holy shit, I got to watch it. What was your thoughts when you were watching those replays?
I had a couple thoughts because I know nothing about NASCAR. I was like, I saw that crash. I had two thoughts. The first one was, how is that guy not dead? Second thought was, it's kind of bullshit because it wasn't even his fault the crash happened.
Yeah.
Someone else crashed into a different car, and then the other car crashed into the other car. It wasn't even his fault. So, like, you just get fucked and lose because someone else made a mistake?
So I don't know if you ever seen it, but, like, sometimes there's fight in NASCAR because, when there's a crash and it's the other guy's fault, they go at it. So Kyle Busch was in that wreck, but 15 laps before there was another wreck, and he wasn't even talking about the wreck he was in. He was talking about another wreck, saying it was another guy's fault. He called out Logano. So it's like, sometimes there's bad blood, and not everyone gets along with each other, and there's teammates. So you have, if you're like a big, the big three are Penske, Gibbs, and Hendrick Motorsports. They usually have three other teammates. So there's 4 total racers, and then there's other smaller teams that have like 2 teammates. But like some people like each other, some people hate each other. It's very interesting.
Who's the bad boy in NASCAR right now? Who's the villain?
It's probably Logano or Kyle Busch. Yeah,
I feel like Kyle Busch has been in a lot of like scraps.
Yeah, the fans, like, obviously they have their diehard fans. Oh, Sweden just took the lead, Maven. But outside of those fan bases, everyone else hates those guys for sure. But
he kind of looks like an asshole.
Yeah, Kyle Busch has a punchable face.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, he's a hell of a racer, but no, he's definitely an asshole. I used to not like him. He changed teams a couple of years ago, and he's not as good anymore. So I don't mind him as much, but I can't stand Logano. But I was thinking last night, I'm like, the 3 things that involve NASCAR, 3 of the big things, is beers. You love drinking beer. Country music. You love country music. And obviously there's Chevy, Ford, and Toyota. But the Ford car is a Mustang model. And don't you drive a Mustang? Or used to?
My dad, that's really wild how you just said that, because my dad got a Mustang 10 years ago. And then he sold it, but then he just got it back because his other car's in Florida right now. So now, so he got the Mustang back literally 2 weeks ago.
So
and it's one of the coolest. I love that car. It's my favorite car my dad's ever had.
Sounds like NASCAR was made for you.
So you're literally a poster boy for NASCAR. So
Yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna have to take you to. There's a track in Michigan. It comes in July. I'm gonna have to take you. Maybe, and you're more than welcome to.
Belle Isle?
No, that's IndyCar. They play at Michigan International Speedway, which you've been there before, Hef, but it wasn't even for a NASCAR event. But I'm gonna take you this summer, and you're gonna fall in love with it.
I just had this could be a dumb question, but why? You know, like I'm still thinking about that crash. That car flipped and tumbled like a million times, and I'm sure that guy's like A-okay. Why don't they put whatever safety precautions in that car in everyone's car?
Well, so those cars, I mean, they're going 200 miles per hour, and like they made a lot of changes to the cars over the years, and they've even changed the walls because over 20 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s dad passed away in
a wreck.
Yeah, in a wreck. So ever since then, they made a lot of changes. But Priest said after the race that they need to do even more because it's gonna end in a bad way. Eventually,
Don't they also have like flame retardants,
that's if a fire
jumpsuits,
right?
And aren't they like strapped in like a million times or something like that where they can't move?
A million?
Well,
I mean, over exaggeration a little bit.
Yes, but I mean, I don't know if you saw the wreck, Maimon, but
I saw the video.
But this one was like, I tweeted this out. This was a walk in the park compared to the one 2 years ago. He flipped over 10 times 2 years ago.
Jeez.
You're airborne. You can't control your car. So I mean, it's insane. And the one from 2 years ago, it was during the playoffs. He raced the next weekend. So I mean, he's tough son of a gun. And
I kind of want to get into NASCAR just so I could just see how it feels to drive.
It sounds like it was made for you.
I just wanted to see how it feels to drive that fast, just so I could do it legally.
That'd be fun to try.
Yeah.
We should do that for like a vlog one time.
That'd be sick.
That would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
And have NASCAR sponsor us.
Yeah.
We
like beer.
I will say this before we get into our pretenders and contenders. When it's not the line, so the NASCAR playoffs go into September into October or into November. It's 10 weeks long. If the Lions are not playing during the playoff race, I'm watching that over
anything
NFL
else.
Football. Oh yeah, I mean the baseball postseason is the same time in October, so I'll watch the MLB over NASCAR if it's a good game, but. I'm watching
when?
NASCAR
September?
playoffs. I'm watching more over a regular NFL regular season game.
What time of the year is NASCAR playoffs?
September into November. It's 10 weeks long.
Fair enough.
So
okay.
I love the NASCAR. We'll bring it up periodically. I know, obviously NASCAR doesn't have the biggest audience, but
we touch all the sports over here.
Yes, sir.
On Loose Balls.
Clear your schedule out. I think it's in the middle of July. I'm taking you to Michigan International Speedway. We're going to go watch the race.
Fair enough, brother.
All right. Moving on. We have the East version of our pretenders and contenders.
Yes. So if you missed last week's episode, please go back because we talked about the Western Conference contenders or pretenders. The video was going a little longer than we expected, so we decided to cut it off after the West. And now we're doing the East today. So we got the top 6 teams in the East. And we're going to start from 6 to 1 on pretenders or contenders. We're going to start from 6 to 1 just to keep the audience into it.
Love it.
Like, what are the Cavs? What are you going to do with the Cavs? So we're going to do that. We're going to start with our beloved Detroit Pistons. We're 29 and 26. 6 out of our last 4 out of the last 10 games. 4-game winning streak going into All-Star break. A lot better year than anyone expected.
Hottest team in basketball, some are saying.
Some of you were saying. So, Bean, let's lead us off. Contenders or pretenders for the Detroit Pistons?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, this has been the best Pistons season since they went to 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals from 2002 to 08. So, obviously, like, this is, it's been amazing to watch. I can't believe the turnaround from They won 14 games last year, and they had 29 at the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're definitely going to be in this 6 seed or higher. Obviously, the higher seed, the better. But let's not forget that the Pacers were the 6 seed last year, and they went to the conference finals. Now they did get swept in the conference finals, but they lost to the eventual champion.
Halliburton also got hurt too, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I think they can definitely make some noise in the playoffs. Right now they would be scheduled against the New York Knicks, and they've already beat the Knicks twice in New York.
It's a favorable matchup for us.
Yeah.
One team I want to play. Yeah.
So I think I'm taking them serious to win one round, but unfortunately the playoffs are so long that you have to win 16 games, and if you win a series, that's only a quarter of the way.
Right.
So I'm gonna go right now pretender. I think they can legitimately win a series. I'll be shocked if they win 2, but no, I would not be surprised if they won a series, and I think they can for sure. And I think they're definitely going to be a 6 seed or higher. I don't see them falling into the bubble and the play-in tournament. I don't think they'll get that low. But even if they do, I think they'll still make the playoffs. But no, I'm going to say pretender, but I would not be shocked again if they win a playoff series.
Maybe 100% agree. On all fronts, they are in no way winning an NBA championship this year. But I'll tell you what, I would not want to play them.
Right.
If I'm the Knicks, if I'm maybe the Pacers want to play them, but man, I would love that series. That's the series I'm hoping for. Pacers, Pistons. I think the league would love that as well, and start another one of these rivalries. But yeah, I think the Pistons, especially with if we're able to make the playoffs and we get a guy like Jaden Ivey back, it would make things a lot more interesting. They are saying that he could come back, during the playoffs if we're able to make some sort of a run. I think there are 3 teams that I think have head and shoulders above us, and I wouldn't want us to play them in the playoffs. And they're beating us regardless of whatever happens, and that's the Celtics.
Oh, don't say it. Don't say it. We're getting into it.
Well, I'm just saying the teams that
these aren't your pretender teams.
No. These are just the teams I think the Pistons don't want to face.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
And we have no chance of beating them, and that would be the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Bucks. I think everybody else is fair play.
I can't even remember the last time they beat the Cavs or Bucks.
I know we beat the Cavs, I believe, last year. The Bucks, they just dominate us every year. And the Celtics, I mean, they beat us, but we always give them a good game.
Yep.
They are pretenders for now. But they're coming. Them young boys, they coming.
Well, they're set up perfectly for the future. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's fun basketball, man. And we are one of the most entertaining basketball teams in the league, in the association. So we are up and coming. We're fun to watch, and we got the best young player in the league.
One of the best young players in the league for sure.
No, the best.
The best young player in the league.
I said what I said.
No glaze?
No glaze.
No glaze?
Just straight facts.
Look at Maven's hat right now.
Bad boys.
What you gonna do when you come for you?
What do you think, Hef?
I got pretender, but I'm thankful to be here. I just want to make the playoffs. I mean, if we were all being real, guys, we won fucking 15 games the last 3 seasons or whatever the fuck it is. Like
I felt like it.
Basically, yeah.
I remember when we signed Tobias Harris, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's a bad playoff."
He's been a great signing.
Yeah, but everyone was
Uncle
like when we first signed him, "Oh, he's a horrible playoff performer." I was like, "That's not what we need to worry about right now. Like, we might not even make the playoffs."
Right.
But it turns out we most likely will make the playoffs. We'll see if the Magic catch us or what happens, but yeah, we're not going to win a championship this year, but I love where we are at. We are going up in a good direction. Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley. I don't know if he's leading the league in threes right now.
I think he's
him
third,
and Edwards.
But he's already got the Pistons record for threes in the season.
Yeah, and I don't love how Ivy got out, but right when he got out, Ron Holland and Tobias Harris.
And Asar.
And Asar.
Duran, too.
And
Playing
everyone's upped their game.
Yep.
You know, you would think, oh, Jaden Ivey's out. Like, what are we going to do? But instead, credit to J.B. Bickerstaff. J.B. Bickerstaff has changed this entire team.
Absolutely.
Every single team, he has a knack for going to teams like he did with the Cavs when they were really young. They weren't that good. And then he brought them into the playoff conversation. The Pistons are in a spot where no one thought they would be coming into the All-Star break. And I'm so happy to even have this conversation if they're contenders or pretenders.
Right.
I'm just happy to even ask that
I'm
question.
happy to, like you said, happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, and hopefully we get a playoff series because we're definitely
Let's get a playoff
We're gonna
win.
be there.
We're definitely going to be there.
With our
Hopefully
boy
it's
P.
against.
It's been over a decade since a playoff win.
Yeah, it's since 08, the last time they made a conference final game.
Yeah.
About
so
damn time.
That's going to change this year.
I'm glad we're there. We're all
Truth.
glad they're there. Cade Cunningham is a fucking god. And yeah, pretenders for all of us, but next year that might change.
Absolutely.
At the 5 spot,
Who do we got?
Eastern Conference 5 spot, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 29-24. They have the same amount of wins as the Pistons, but they just have played 2 less games. So they're about a game ahead of us. They're the 5 seed right now. If it started, they'd be playing the Pacers. So, contenders or pretenders for the Milwaukee Bucks?
So, they lost to the Pacers last year. Obviously, Giannis, I don't think played a single game.
Yeah.
Middleton got hurt too. I think Dame got hurt. I think they all got hurt. They all missed at least one game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, Middleton got traded. We talked about that last week. I did not like that trade for Kuzma. But if he can be healthy, then I guess it's better than what they've had in years past. But you guys know me. I'm not a believer in Dame come playoff time. Obviously, he's had some great performances, but he's won 3 playoff series in his career. And he's made it out of the first round once, and that's when he made the Western Conference Finals 7 years ago. So I'm going to go with pretender. Obviously, Giannis has won a ring, and you know that they've still got some of that core that have won. But I'm also not a fan of I was before he came to the Bucks, but I'm not a fan of Doc Rivers, what he's done. If you know, they fired their coach last year for Doc, and their coach last year, I'm blanking on his name, was better than what Doc has done. And
Budenholzer?
No, they fired Budenholzer and not Charles Lee. I can't remember his name, but
I think it was Charles Lee.
no, because he was with Budenholzer, and then Charles Lee went somewhere else, and now he's a head coach somewhere. I can't remember his name. Sorry, I'm blanking, but
Yeah, you're right. I remember that.
They fired him for Doc, which why wouldn't you just get Doc to start the year in the first place? Doc was on TV.
Also, you couldn't get anybody else better than Doc Rivers.
Yeah. And they've gone in the opposite direction, and then obviously they lost last year in the first round. So I'm going pretender, and I think they'll lose in the first round again.
Tristan Maben, what do you got?
This team, I look at them a bit differently than you're seeing them being. I look at them to bounce back. The fact that they lost in the first round last year and really were a disappointment. I think especially if they play the Pacers, a team that bounced them last year, there'll be extra motivation and a healthy Giannis ready to go. It's all about Giannis and what he's gonna do.
Yep.
You know, if he decides to just take over a series, he has that ability to do so. Now he'll need Dame to show up every once in a while, and you know they still have a great supporting cast with a Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, who love Bobby Portis. He's the type of guy you want come playoff time, and I think Kuzma, like you touched on it, being availability is the best ability.
Yep.
And you know the fact that he can just play and you can rely on that, and with instead of a Chris Middleton who he's struggled with injuries, especially the last couple of years. At least you have someone who can show up and hoop for you. So I like the Bucks. I think we've talked about it before. I think they're one of my dark horses, maybe the number one dark horse I see, especially out of the East this year.
Okay.
You know, everybody's talking about the
Interesting.
Cavs, everybody's talking about the Celtics, people talking about the Knicks, but I think the Bucks, they can make a run. It's literally all on Giannis. If
Yeah.
Giannis can be that guy, and he's proved it before, where he could put the team on his back and be the number one guy and do some legendary
absolutely.
stuff. So I'm a Bucks believer.
So you got contender?
Contender.
Mabin, I don't even know if I have to speak right now. I think you said every single thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, I read your notes before the episode.
So I have this thing where if you're a top 3 player in the league, you can beat anyone.
I agree with that. I like
think
that.
Yep.
Nikola Jokic, I'm never going to count out Denver. OKC with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, never going to count out them. And Giannis with the Bucks, I'm never going to count out them.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the trade. I love the trade getting Kyle Kuzma and getting rid of Chris Middleton. As you said, Chris Middleton doesn't play anymore. So, and Kyle Kuzma is going to be a great dribble drive threat, I think, on the wing, just to get, whoever's guarding him a little tired, and then Giannis could pick and roll, get that guy on him, and just drive and kick to Dame. And now that the Bucks have shooters on their team, they have a lot more shooters on their team. They got AJ Green, that rookie.
Mm-hmm.
They've always had Brook Lopez. They got Bobby Portis. They got Gary Trent Jr. I think he has one of the higher 3-point percentages of the league.
Sniper.
Could be wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
They just have everything around Giannis, and Giannis is at that prime age of let's win now.
Right.
And he's had 2 heartbreaking losses because obviously last playoffs he didn't play. And if you guys remember, the year before that, they were the 1 seed and lost to the Heat.
Right.
And that's when Giannis played. So he's coming from revenge still from that series.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not want to play me and Giannis. I will say this. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world by far. But I'll say Giannis can be the most unstoppable. So when Giannis is hot, I don't think there's a way to stop him. But I think Nikola Jokic is by far, in a way, the best player in the NBA. I think those are 2 completely different things.
Agreed.
It's like when Giannis is not on, tough luck, you're not going to win the game.
Right.
And Nikola Jokic, when he's not on, he's one of the best passers in probably NBA
he can
history.
still affect the game.
And he could just shoot that freaking shot.
That catapult.
That catapult. Yeah, the shot put shot. That's what I was trying to think of. But yeah, I'm gonna go contenders with the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if were you saying they were the team that you see coming out of the East, or was that just saying your number 1 dark horse team?
They're my number 1 dark horse out of the East.
Okay.
Maybe in the whole league.
I would agree. I think I would agree with that. I'm going contender.
Just because nobody's talking about him.
I think the series all depends on Dame, if I'm being honest.
He's the X factor. Obviously, like Giannis is going to drive it here, but the X factor is Dame. Can he show up? And he showed up in the playoffs before, but in the biggest moments when the lights are the brightest. I just remember that. I think it was a Game 7 when he was in the WCF. Who'd they play? The Blazers.
I don't think it was the WCF, but it was against the Nuggets in overtime when he dropped like 57.
No, I'm thinking of when he choked when he didn't show up in Game 7 or Game 6.
Was that OKC?
No, they got
CJ McCollum was the guy who showed up.
They
and
got
it wasn't
swept
him.
in the Western Conference Finals.
Who did they
I don't know
play
what
that
I'm
year?
thinking of
The
then.
Warriors.
The Warriors. Was that with KD? I think
Yeah,
it was.
well, I don't know if KD was back because he had his Achilles injury and then he came back
That's
in the
right.
finals and then toured again.
But yeah. Everyone good on those 2 teams? You want to?
Yeah, it's all gonna be dependent on if Giannis, because he missed last year, if he's healthy, and if Dame can, kind of turn his woes around in the playoffs.
Okay.
It's a good point.
So
How Giannis revenge tour is not something I'd want to see.
It's not just from last year either. It's also the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And an angry Giannis is the one thing I don't want to see come playoff time. I think he could just go crazy whenever he wants to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got 2 contenders, 1 pretender. Bean was the pretender on that one. And next we got the number 4 team. They started off a little dicey in the beginning of the season. We got the Indiana Pacers, who are 30-23. Bean, what do you think?
Yeah, so if you asked me this probably a month ago, if not at least a month and a half, 2 months ago, my answer would have been completely different. But now they're starting to find their form. And right now, how the bracket would line up, it's perfect. They beat the Bucks last year, who they would play right now in the first round. And I think playing Cleveland, they could definitely beat them, and they've made more conference finals recently and with this group than Cleveland has. So I know Halliburton hasn't been as good, but they got some feisty guys. Miles Turner is really good, and he always calls it Pistons whenever they play. And I'm a big fan of Siakam.
You say you're not a big fan, or
no? I am.
Okay.
That was a great. That was probably one of the best trades last year at the deadline.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think they can score on all levels. Their defending has been, I think, a little bit better than last year. So I'm gonna go contender.
Oh wow. Okay, Mavin.
I'll start off with the things I do like about the Pacers. I love their coach. I think Rick Carlisle is a great coach. Another underrated coach who's won a championship, and he's had a lot of winning teams. And I think the hallmark of a great coach is getting the most out of your players. And you look at the Indiana Pacers; they are a team made of big time role players. A guy like what's the white guy, the white point guard's name?
McConnell.
T.J. McConnell. Every time I watch him, he's just scrappy and making a difference in the game. Reed Shepherd's another guy that I really like, who just does the little things for you need in order to win.
Reed Shepherd's on the Rockets.
Not Reed Shepherd.
Are you talking about Benedict Mathurin?
No, I'm talking. They have a Shepherd.
They have a Shepherd. I can't remember.
Oh,
his
Ben
first name.
Shepherd.
Ben Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yep. He's good.
Sorry, I was
Neesmith, who gets some good minutes when he's playing there.
Yep.
I do like Benedict Mathurin a lot. Miles Turner, he's one of the better big men, fives in the league. So I love their supporting cast. But then when you start looking at the things I don't like, and it's their stars, and I do like Pascal Siakam. Do I think that he's the guy who's going to be your number one? No. Now you would ask, Tristan, what about their actual number one star, Tyrese Halliburton?
I know you love him.
That's sarcasm because I do not love him. I am not a Tyrese Halliburton fan. I just don't see him as a leader, as a guy that can, elevate the people around him and be the number one guy. When you need a bucket, he can go get it for you. I think he's a talented player. But when the lights are bright, do I think that he is that guy? I do not. And, I could be wrong. I was wrong about Jalen Hurts, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So it's plain and simple. I like everything about Indiana other than their star player. So for that simple fact, I'm going to go pretender.
Maybe I agree once again with most of the things you're saying, but I do disagree with one thing you said. The one thing I disagree with is Tyrese not making the people around him better. I think that's the one thing he is good at.
When I say that, I don't mean by like passing the ball. Like he's a big time assist guy, and I think he's a good passer of the ball.
Are you talking about like leader wise?
In terms of being a leader, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then I would agree with you there. I don't think he is the best leader for that team.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you were saying like he was just partying the entire summer going into the.
Well, I mean
like a joke.
That's not a joke. It's like he came into the season, like you said earlier, being like their whole team sort of started off very flat.
Yep.
And a lot of it was because Halliburton was playing like Halibut.
Halibut.
He was playing like ass.
Halibooty cheeks.
Halibooty, exactly.
Halibooty.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I understand when you win, it's great, and you should celebrate your wins. But when you look at a guy like Cade, who he decided not to go. He wasn't selected for the Olympic team, but he was selected to that like select team or whatever where they had like the practice squad. He decided not to and get ready for the season, right? And there's bigger fish to fry. And you see Halliburton, yeah, sure he won, but you were the last guy on the bench and you won, and you're celebrating like you're the top dog.
Yeah.
Something rubs me the wrong way about that. So, I don't know. I just don't see him as a guy who's gonna lead a team to the promised land.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm looking at their team right now. online, and I'm looking.
Love their squad. Obi Toppin we didn't even talk about.
Jaleel Okafor's on the team. I didn't even know what a bust he was. But yeah, I think they have depth. But I 100% agree with what you're saying. I don't think there's a number one on that team. And come the playoffs, when you need a bucket, who's going to get that bucket on that team?
Pascal Siakam.
Maybe Pascal Siakam, but do I trust him more than any of the other stars in the East? I don't. I trust Donovan Mitchell more than him. I trust Tatum. Maybe not Tatum, but Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown over him.
Jalen Brunson.
Giannis, Jalen Brunson. I think
Cade.
What about Big Purr?
Big Purr? I don't know about all that, but
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I think the role players excel this team to another level. But I think what's holding them back is those supposed stars not playing as stars consistently. I think Tyrese Halliburton.
Spot on.
Tyrese Halliburton chucks up way too many terrible shots. His shooting form's awful. Just every time I watch it, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
He's just annoying, bro.
He's just annoying. I hated when he played the Pistons and did the Malik Beasley shimmy.
It was a terrible shimmy, too. That guy has no hips.
That guy has no hips. He thinks he's got them, too.
Yeah, he don't got him.
He don't got him.
What was he doing when he was partying? He wasn't practicing his shimmy?
I don't know what he's doing. He's hanging out. Never mind.
I don't know. But, yeah, T.J. McConnell, as you said, he reminds me of a Dylan Brooks player. Where he's just feisty. He's not like that major trash talker, but the way he plays, or that guy in the Pelicans,
Jose Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado.
Grand Theft Alvarado.
They're
cut from the same cloth. He
reminds me of him. Miles Turner's a great player for this team, but once again, Jarris Walker was a terrible pick. He's not proven anything. I love Benedict Mathurin as well. He's probably my favorite player on this entire team. But yeah, I'm going to go pretender here. I just don't see enough star power on this team to make it a deep run like they did last year.
Agreed.
And yeah, I just don't see it. But yeah, going on to the next team, we got the
Knickerbockers.
The New York Knicks, who are the 3 seed right now, 36-18, 8-2 in their last 10, going into All-Star break. Let me hear it, man.
Yeah, so this is tough because they're very good. I love their squad. They're not as deep. They're gonna have to figure that out. Because last year Brunson got hurt in Game 7 against the Pacers. Randall didn't play in the playoffs. So, and obviously they traded Randall, but then you're using up all these minutes and the other guys went down. So I think that could be the same problem. And you said they're 8-2. One of those losses is against the Celtics, and they're going to be playing the Celtics in the second round. And so, like I said with the Pistons earlier, you don't just because you win a series that you're only a quarter. You're 25% there. Obviously 25% is not good enough in anything. Yeah. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if they make a deep run, but I think some of their problems like last year is going to plague them in the playoffs. And, they play hard. Tibbs is a great coach, but, those guys don't get any days off. And, all those guys play, Bridges and
Josh Hart.
I was going to say not DiVincenzo, but yeah, Josh Hart, the Nova Knicks. They're all they play 35 minutes a game, so
damn near whole game.
There was this stat that came out. I saw it on a YouTube short actually. I don't know who dropped it, but it was Makeshift NBA Hoops. So I was watching them, and it was one of their Instagram or YouTube shorts. It was, can you name the top 6 lineups that played the most minutes together in the NBA?
Yeah, and it was all Knicks.
All of them were Knicks.
Right.
It was just different combinations of Knicks players. There was none of any other team.
So I love Bridges too, and they got good wings. They have a good squad, but I don't think it'll be enough to beat Boston. So I'm gonna go Pretenders.
I tend to agree. I really like some of the players and pieces that they have. I'm a big Mikal Bridges fan, big OG Anunoby fan. I'm a big fan of big wings that can score and defend. Jalen Brunson, I think, is. Can you win a championship with Jalen Brunson being your number one guy? I think so. But can you win with Karl Anthony Towns being your number two? I don't think so. And I think, Cat is one of those guys who blew that one, Brock Nelson. I think Cat is one of those guys who's always going to put up big numbers. He's always going to have big-time performances in the regular season. But come playoff time, it's a completely different story. And, again, there were a few games where he did show up in the playoffs last year for the Timberwolves. But there was a lot of games where you sat there thinking, where's Karl Anthony? You're at the end of the game and you're thinking, did Cat play this game?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of that just being invisible, and you can't be invisible if you're going to be the number two guy on a championship team. And I do think Tibbs playing his guys into the ground is a factor come playoff time. Not giving them the rest during the regular season, ingrained in the games, catches up to you, in the postseason. So, unfortunately, I do like the Knicks and some of the pieces they have, but it's going to have to be pretenders for me.
Yeah, going back to Tibbs thing, and obviously he's known for doing that with D Rose, especially when in the first round against Philly, which was the beginning of his leg injuries, lower body injuries, when they basically had the game won and he was still in. But, at this point, it's not really his fault. He doesn't have a deep roster. So,
right. And they still do have some injuries, like Mitchell Robinson's supposed to come back.
That guy's always hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't bank on him playing.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Hef?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go contender. I love the Knicks. Absolutely love their squad. Love their starting five. They do have some depth issues. I'm not gonna shy away from that. But I just love the team chemistry they have when I watch them. OG Anunoby, no one mentioned him yet.
Yep.
Great player. He performed in the playoffs. Mikal Bridges, I think that was a bad trade. I mean, a bad sign or whatever. But, I think they gave up too many picks, but he does fit into this offense well. And then Josh Hart, he's a triple-double guy. He can do anything on the court. He played, I remember in the playoffs last year, he played 48 minutes all the time. So, and he was okay with it. He was playing almost every single game, every single minute. And Karl Anthony Towns, I think he is a good 2 option. But as you said, Bean, earlier in this segment, you were like, yeah, they just don't have depth. And do you know what would have fixed that? If they didn't make that trade and they had Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench still and still had Julius Randle. That was the one concern I had with the New York Knicks, but I still think they are contenders with their starting five. But as I said, they just ruined more of their team chemistry. Because obviously Dante DiVincenzo went to Villanova as well with Jalen Brunson and all those guys. So yeah, I just think it was a dumb trade, but I still do think they can make the finals just from their starting five. Because I think Jalen Brunson is that guy. I think Karl Anthony Towns fits around him pretty well. I think OG Anunoby is a very versatile player and can do anything on the court. And I love Josh Hart.
Question, are you worried about Cat not showing up in the big moments?
No. Because I think he cannot. I think he cannot show up, and someone else will show up. Because I think their starting five is that they play together so well. I've seen, especially going on later into the season where they've played these last 10 games. I think they just mesh so well together. The ball's always moving. They're all unselfish players. I mean, obviously Jalen Brunson is a very unselfish dude for taking that massive pay cut.
Sure.
He took like $100 less just to get some more depth.
Sure.
But yeah, even if Karl Anthony Towns doesn't have his best game, I still think they could win the game because OG Anunoby is capable of dropping 30. Josh Hart is capable of dropping a lot of points, getting some rebounds, getting those effort plays in. And their bench, yeah, it is not great, but they still have some solid pieces like Precious. He plays a little bit. Miles McBride. And Mitchell Robinson, yeah, Mitchell Robinson never really plays, but once he does come back, I think it'll be a big dish.
He won't be there long. But they do, like you said, they all make that effort play to win, Hef. So it's, they're even if they lose in the series, it's not like they're gonna get swept or anything like that. It's gonna go
like a
6-7.
gamer, yeah.
Last year they lost in 7, but they're gonna in the future they just got to get a couple more bench pieces to be a true title contender in my eyes.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I do see that worry and concern. I just think that starting 5 meshes so well together that I might be underplaying it a little bit. But yeah, we'll see once the playoffs come because we're not that far away. Yeah, going on to the number 2 team being, we got the Boston Celtics, who are 39-16, the former NBA champions, 8-2 in their last 10.
Not former, the reigning champions.
Or reigning, that's what I meant, yeah.
No, you're good. I'm just fucking around. But there's not much to say. Reigning champs. They went 16-3 last year. So they got most of that squad back. If Kristaps can be healthy somehow,
somehow,
some way, they're 10 times better. So it's an easy contender for me.
Not much to say there, maybe.
No.
Easy contender. They, I don't like them. I don't think any of us really like the Celtics.
No.
But we can all see that they are a contender in this league. As long as they keep this nucleus of players, they're going to be contending for championships year in and year out. And one guy I do like on that team is Joe Mazzulla. Big fan of him. Incredible coach.
Love Joe.
Another guy who gets the best out of his players, and he's just an absolute psycho.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get rid of half times.
I'm down for it.
Was that a true quote, by the way?
Yeah, he did say that, yeah. He said he wanted to get rid
What a man.
Let's just keep on playing. Why not?
He was like, I know the business aspect of it, but yeah, like let's just get rid of half times. I'm so sick of that shit.
He's a robot.
Yeah. So is that all you got to say on the Celtics so far?
Not much else to say.
Not much to say.
Their play speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Celtics are contenders, obviously. I don't think I'm as high as everyone else on them, but obviously they can easily win the championship. Their bench is so good too.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Hauser, and what's his name? Peyton Pritchard. Those guys are shooting the lights out. And I was watching Joe Mazzulla's podcast like a year ago on Pardon My Take, and he was saying Peyton Pritchard can shoot anywhere from the floor, and I seriously think at the bottom of my heart it's going in. Like that's how good of a shooter he is. When you have Tatum and Brown, I mean, you're going to get open shots all day.
Right.
And you could just spread the floor, and that's why they shoot so many threes, because they can. Mm-hmm. And even if they miss it, they're going to shoot again. It doesn't matter. Sam Hauser's been dominating recently. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I think Bean, as you said, Kristaps Porzingis, we'll see if he's healthy. If he is healthy, they're going to be even tougher to beat. And this might sound crazy, but they did sign a free agent recently, and his name is Torrey Craig. And we might come back to this, and I guarantee you he's going to play a role on that bench.
He could. He's a good role player.
I think
we haven't even talked about Derek White and Drew Holiday.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not much to say. It's championship DNA.
Mm-hmm.
All guys can ball. They can all shoot. They love shooting threes. I didn't even know Torrey Craig was still in the league. That's crazy.
And Neemias Queta.
Oh, can't forget about Neemias.
If that's how you pronounce his name. Derek White. Is he the ugliest player in the league?
I mean, he's up there, man. It's cue ball city. And his teeth are messed up, too. It's tough. Good guy, though. Good guy.
Good guy. Just, like, not a good-looking guy.
He's a winner.
Yeah. Those are two different things.
Winner, exactly. Winner. That's what you can say about him.
Two different things.
Winner.
And going on to our final team of pretenders or contenders, I think we all know who it is. It's a team that started off hot and stayed hot. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who are tied with the best record in the NBA with the Oklahoma City Thunder, 44-10. Bean, are they pretenders or contenders?
Yeah, so this one, for how good the record is, it's been tough because they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. They should have made it 3 years ago. Or it was one of those years, 3 or 4, that they were in a top 5 seed for most of the year, plummeted and didn't even make the playoffs. So they don't have as much experience in making as deep as you would like. Last year they played the Celtics without Donovan Mitchell, and they lost in 5. So that kind of hurt them. But, obviously Mitchell Garland's been having a great year. Mobley has been great, both all-stars. Jared Allen, former all-star. obviously they got a really good starting five, and then they have Strus and they have R.J. Barrett, who I really like making that. I really love that trade. That was not R.J. Barrett, sorry.
DeAndre Hunter.
DeAndre Hunter, thank you. I think that was the best trade during the deadline for at least short-term wise.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So with that, I'm going to have to go Contender. I don't know if they'll be in the finals. I don't know if they'll beat the Celtics, but I think they can at least go to the conference finals and give the Celtics a very good series, a competitive series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go Contender.
I would agree with you, Bean. I think before the DeAndre Hunter trade, and I agree, I think that was the best short-term trade of the deadline. Before that trade, very on the fence in terms of contender. Are they legit number one seed? Are they like the Hawks in the mid-2010s where they would be the one seed and then lose like right away? I think after that trade, that solidified them as contenders. They got exactly what they needed. They got a starting winger, right, to complement the two guards that they have with Mitchell and Garland, and the two bigs with Mobley and Allen. DeAndre Hunter is a perfect fit for that. And man, I just love what Donovan Mitchell's doing this year. And they have Evan Mobley, who's playing incredible basketball as well. He didn't show up against the Thunder right before the break, but then balled out against when the Cavs came to Detroit and played the Pistons. He's going to be a big-time player for them. He already is as an all-star. And Jared Allen's a good starting five, and you got your number two in Darius Garland, and they have a good bench. So, yeah, they're my favorite out of the East.
Favorite out of the East?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely correct.
Ty Jerome, too. We didn't even mention him.
I was just about to mention
He's
him.
been hooping.
Ty Jerome, what a baller. I just think it'd be disrespectful if you did say they were pretenders.
Mm-hmm.
They're a 44-10 record. I don't know what else they can do to prove to the league and to the media and everyone what they can do.
54.
I think, as being said, can they beat the Celtics? We're just going to have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, I mean, Jared Allen coming back this year. He was obviously injured last year in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to get him back. He's a big defensive anchor, great rebounder. And then they got Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell complement each other perfectly. Their lineup is great. And in a shooting league, you got shooters off the bench, just like the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics got Hauser and Pritchard. And then the Cavaliers got Max Strus and Ty Jerome and Dean Wade.
That white guy, Merrill, too. He's lights out.
Yeah, Merrill's good. They got a good
shooting.
team.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got Okoro on the bench, who's not a shooter, but he's a good big man for them. And
Tristan Thompson.
I don't know how much tick he gets.
Double T.
I'm not sure how much tick he gets. And Okoro's not a big man, my bad. He was a wing. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, Thompson's just he's that Udonis Haslem type guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's not getting any run, but he's going to run his mouth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then every player's going to be like, dude, you're on the bench.
Yeah, right.
He goes, I proved myself, bro. I got a ring. But, yeah, the Cavaliers are a contender. I would love to see – it wouldn't be my favorite matchup to see in the Eastern Conference Finals just because –
What are you talking about, Cavs, Boston?
Yeah, I think it would be a great series, but they're just not my two favorite teams.
What would you like to see in your perfect world?
Perfect world, I'd like to see the Bucks in it and the Knicks. Bucks and Knicks would be great. I mean, if we're not including the Pistons because they're probably not going to make it, but Bucks and Knicks.
You never know. I mean, if they get the right matchup, ECF?
Maybe.
Question mark, exclamation point.
But, yeah, I think what I mostly want, I mean, if the Lakers don't make the finals, I'd love to see a Jokic-Giannis NBA Finals.
That'd be insane.
I would just love to see those constant battles.
The two European stars in the NBA Finals, that'd be incredible.
I feel like it would just be storybook, and I just would be so sick to watch. That'd be great, yeah.
What about you, Bean? Ideal NBA Finals matchup?
I've been waiting for Giannis and versus Nuggets for a while, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going which I thought it was going to happen last year, but Nuggets versus Celtics.
Is that
That's what
the
I want to
most
see.
fun matchup you can imagine?
Yeah, I think
And
it would be the best basketball for sure.
I think it would be a good basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Maven?
The storylines, for storyline purposes, I would love nothing more than Cavs Lakers.
I thought you were gonna say Lakers Celtics.
I feel like the storyline is even more so with Cavs Lakers. LeBron having to defeat Cleveland in the finals. Luka, Donovan Mitchell, his first finals appearance. That'd be incredible, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, my second option would be Nuggets. I'll go with Nuggets and Bucks. That'd be crazy.
I just pictured a scenario in my head with the Cavs-Lakers matchup, and LeBron has like a free throw, game 7, and he goes, "Cleveland, this is for you," and just bricks it off the backboard.
He would totally do something corny and lame like that.
It's for you.
He would totally do something like
Would
that.
they give him a ring, maybe?
What's it
if
again?
he did that?
What?
Would the Cavs give him a ring if he did that?
That'd be funny.
But yeah, we're excited for what's to come once the All-Star break concludes. And yeah, did we cover everything, Bean?
Yes, sir. That's a wrap.
That is a wrap on episode 6, guys. If you guys made it this far, you are the man or girl, whichever you are.
The man or the woman.
Man or woman. I love that. Just to remind you guys, we're dropping our podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify and YouTube on our X account. Our X account handle is looseballspod1. And we're going to start up YouTube Shorts soon as we get everything going. We've just been having some technical difficulties, but we're going to get through it. And you guys will see us a lot more. So like, subscribe, review, whatever you want to do, share. Loose Balls Pod, baby. I'm out.
Deuces.
Oh, I'm Ryan Heffernan. Tristan Maven.
Tristan.
Chris Bean.
Peace and happiness.